Okay, welcome to part 4 of the video. And in this we need to create one brush to get these elements that are flying from the face. So we're actually going to create a brush to do that. So very similar if you've done the previous exercise for the drip brush that we created. Very similar type thing. We may make one addition to what you learnt in that lesson. So basically, first of all, we need a new file. So we go to File, New, and I'm just going to put the width and the height in. Now actually I've already got in there what I require. So the width 800 and the height 800 and the resolution 300. That's the important parts. The background can be transparent, so if I click on there we'll go on transparent. And that's basically it. So those settings, 800, 800, 300 for the resolution, transparent, and click on OK. And to create the brush, really simple. We're going to use the lasso tool. We're going to draw a few shapes. And remember, this is going to be flesh coming from the face, so think of that when you're actually drawing the shapes there. We need to make sure that the lasso tool is on Add to Selection, which is the second button at the top on the options bar. And we're going to do some small areas, some larger areas. Okay, it's quite hard to see that, but I've drawn a few shapes. You'll see now when I colour it in. So we need to click on the Paint Bucket tool. We need to make sure that we're on black. So if you click and change the top colour to black there, remember you can always get the default colours by clicking the little icon above that on the left there with the two little squares on. Make sure black's on the top, and then just click within your area to get that. I'm just going to deselect that now. So select, deselect. It's looking okay. Okay, so next stage, I want to highlight that. So I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool and drag over the selection, make sure everything's enclosed. And then we go to Edit on the menu and Define Brush Preset. Give it a name, so we'll call it Flying Flesh. Hey, that sounds good. And we click on OK. We'll just deselect that. I'm going to be playing with the settings on this brush later. But first of all, we need to create something else. We can close this now. We've got the brush. Now to the save. And now we've got the brush. We go to File, Open. And we need to look for the skin file. So we're going to use this for a texture. Click on Open. So we've got a nice texture there that I found off the internet of some skin. We're going to select all of that. And then we're going to Edit, Define Pattern, and we click on OK. So that's complete. We can just get rid of that now. Okay. Now we need to go and look at the brush. before we do that, what we're actually going to do is we're going to have like the molten lava that we used on the face. We're going to use that mainly for the brush, so that's going to be flying from the face. So let's open that first. File, open, hot molten lava. We need to select all of that. So select all and copy it. Then we can close it and paste it onto the. Make sure that we're on the top layer, which we are. And we go to edit, paste, so it comes above that layer. And we can click on the move tool and resize this so it fills the entire area. Press the enter key on the keyboard to finalize that. All the tick on the options bar is now gone. And we need a mask on this, so we click on the mask. Come up with a white background, so we need to change that. So we need to inverse it. There's different ways. You can use the keyboard, but I'll show you the other way in case you forget the keyboard shortcuts. So it's image, adjustment, invert. There you go. So it now disappears. We need to make sure that we're still on the mask. So you can see the mask there, and we've got the highlight around that to show that we're still in that area. And now we go to our brush that we've created. So it will be active as soon as we put that on. Now, what we're going to do on this layer is to create an effects on the layer, a layer style, before we start using the brush. And we want bevel and emboss. Actually, before we do that, I'm just going to click. We'll paint a part on there first. So I'm going to click once. And you see what happens. We get this. Looks like flying flesh. Yeah. And we just put that on there to preview that when we put the effects on. So I'll put the effects on now. Effects, bevel and emboss. And we're going to use an inner bevel again. Chisel soft, so make sure that's selected. The depth, so look at that, we'll play about with that. Around 700 odd, anything around that size, that looks okay. The light should be coming from the right hand side, so that the highlight of that should be on this edge, which it is. If not, you would click on the angle in this area to move that. The highlight mode needs to be, I think, I'm not sure whether we use screen or overlay. Let's try overlay. Okay, so we change that to overlay. And basically the opacity above these modes, the highlight mode, we could change that up a little bit, just make that brighter on the edge. So we'll drag that up to about 85, and the shadow we'll leave on 50%, that should be okay. Now, something else we're going to add on this is the texture that we created with the skin. So if we look down under bevel emboss, we've got texture. So I'm going to click on that. And if I click on the actual word texture there, it brings up this box. And where it says pattern, we need to click on the very last one, which will be our skin texture. And we've got a depth for this. You can see how it's affecting. I just want to put a few little bumps. Let's see what invert looks like. That looks okay. So it's just adding that little bit of texture to it. We'll make the depth a bit deeper. There you go, so we'll do that quite high. Click on OK. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want this brush to rotate when we click. And to do that, if you look on the options bar where you've got your shape for your brush there, this square white box there, that's for the preferences of the brush. It gives us the brush panel. And what I want to do, if we could click on the top one where it says Shape Dynamics, and what we want to do is to jitter the size slightly, so that will change the size when we click. We just want that quite low because we can alter it ourselves. What we do want is the angle jitter, and we want this really high. So about 90%. And then when we click, I'm just going to check that this brush, can you see it's actually changing direction? Okay, so we can get rid of the panel now, that's what we wanted. We're just going to click. I don't want to go too mad with this, we just want to get a few particles. Now I'm going to use a slightly larger brush, so I'm resizing that. Okay, that should do. Now what we're going to do with that is go to the layers. I'm going to drag this layer down. I'm going to hold the mouse on the layer and drag it down below the head, so it's actually going behind the man. Then I'm going to duplicate the layer. So right click on the layer, duplicate layer, click on OK, and drag this one back to the top. Missed, try again, there we go. Now we click on the move tool, and you can see I've now got one in front of the man, one behind. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit on this, so we click on the magnifying tool, which is down the bottom there. Make sure that we're on zoom out, so we want the minus. I'm just going to click and get out of there. And the reason I've done this is because I want to make these particles quite large. I'm actually going to bring them slightly over the face there. Press the enter key. And what we're going to do with this layer, we're going to look like this is in front of the face, and we want to add like a depth of field. So what we're going to do with this one is to blur this. So remember, you've pressed enter or the options bar, the little tick to commit that before you can do this. Filter, go to blur, Gaussian blur. And I just want to drag this so it looks like it's flying around his head and it's out of focus. There we go. Still move this around slightly. That's great. Now we just double click the hand tool, it's above the magnifying glass, and that will resize the image to the size of the window. That's a nice trick, one I use quite often. So there we go. I'm just going to remove a couple of little areas. I like it a bit on his face. That's probably a bit too much, so we're just going to remove a bit with the eraser tool. Actually, now we can use the mask, can't we? We've still got a mask on this one. So if we go to the layers, and I click on the mask, change the brush to black, change the brush to get a soft edge brush, just make that larger using the bracket keys. rid of these bits over his eyes, over his mouth. I'm actually going to leave this area on because we're going to alter that now. Okay, so that will do fine. Now I'm going to change just going to copy this layer again. Actually, we won't copy that one, we'll copy the one that's unblurred. So we go down to this layer. Make sure you haven't clicked on the mask, but we're on the object. Right click and duplicate the layer. Click on OK. So it's the one that's highlighted. And what I want to do with this one is put it between the layer with the cracks on and just above the face. So we're going to drag the layer up to just above here. I'm going to click on the layer mask. We're actually going to delete this, so we want to delete everything on there. So we just click on select all and use the backspace key on the keyboard, which will invert the selection again. So we just need to invert that so it's on white. We go to image, adjust, invert. So basically we've got a new layer ready to use straight away with the effects on, and we can just paint a new area. And what we want to do is to put some lava underneath the cracks there on his face. So for that I'm going to use a hard edge brush. So any one of the hard edge brushes, remember we can resize that. We're just going to draw, sorry, I need to change the brush to white. Do that. We're just going to draw in some areas in between the cracks. To make it look like his face is glowing and on fire. A little bit down there, I think. Should we do that bit? Just here. Maybe we'll do all this area there. Okay, then we're just going to change the layer mode. I'll just put a bit more on there. So we've got a nice hole there with some fire coming through. We just change the layer mode from normal to overlay. We'll just lower the opacity of the layer slightly. That's looking good, so around 52%, 50%. And there we go. Our image is almost complete. There's just one little thing I want to do now, and I want to alter the face slightly. So we're going back to the layers. We click on the face, right click, and we're going to duplicate this layer. And what I want to do is to darken the face, so we're going to change the layer mode to multiply. And then again, change the opacity to make it a bit brighter. So around 38% looks okay, probably a little bit less. But what I want to do is to add a mask to this. So we click on a mask, and I just want to bring out the eyes a little bit. So we're going to use a black brush and just delete that mask on the eyes so his eyes are shiny. Yeah, we'll probably just brighten up this side of the face slightly, just with a few patches. Probably do most of this area. So it looks like we've got more shadow on the left hand side. I've got a hard brush here, probably better using a soft brush, so I can just change the hardness of the brush and that'll give a nicer effect on the edges. It's looking okay. You can always change the opacity at any time, just makes it look a little bit moodier. Okay, that is the exercise complete. All we need to do now is to flatten the layers, flatten image. I'm going to save this as a JPEG file, save as, format, JPEG, click save. So it already exists. Do I want to? Do I? I can't see where I've got that one. Let me just see. There's Torch JPEG already as is. Oh, never mind. Let's replace that. Click on OK. And there's our completed picture. Hope you enjoyed that.